My name is Sarah Chen. I'm writing this from the broadcast booth of WILFM 103.3 on the coast of Maine. It's 2:34 a.m. In 13 minutes, the phone is going to ring. I know because it's rung at exactly 2:47 a.m. every night for the past 12 nights. Tonight, I'm going to answer it differently. Tonight, I think I'm going upstairs. The posting, I found the job on an industry board 3 weeks ago. Experienced overnight personality needed for coastal station. Must be comfortable working alone. Must be comfortable with silence. I've been out of work for 3 months after my Boston station got swallowed by a media conglomerate. 3 months behind on rent. Living off protein bars and pride. So when a station manager named Richard Voss called me back within the hour, I didn't ask why the station didn't appear on any FCC registry, or why I couldn't find it on a single broadcast map. His voice sounded like it had been filtered through a century of wood smoke. You ever work overnight before? 7 years total. College and commercial. This is different. We broadcast from a lighthouse. The nearest town is 8 miles inland. High tide floods the causeway at 11:15 p.m. Once you're in until 5:45 a.m. I'm comfortable with that. Yeah. A pause so long I thought the call had dropped. That's what the last girl said too. He hired me on the spot. $1,750 a week. For a station that technically doesn't exist. I should have asked about the last girl. Night 1. The lighthouse sits on a rocky finger of land connected to shore by a strip of asphalt that disappears under 6 inches of black water twice a day. I arrived at 10:15 p.m. No other cars. The beacon was dark. The tower stood against the Atlantic like a rotted tooth, white paint peeling off in long strips that looked like skin. The keys were in a rusted mailbox with a typed note, "Studio is 2nd floor." Equipment is simple. Play music, read weather, take calls if they come, they won't. Do not go to the transmitter room. Door is locked. You don't need access. Do not broadcast after 3 a.m. Dead air is acceptable. Static is acceptable. Just stop talking at 3. RV, I climbed the spiral staircase. Metal steps, each one ringing like a bell in a throat. The studio was a time capsule of bulky monitors, sliding faders that smelled like ozone, a microphone that looked like a silver pill, and a rotary phone with a cord thick as a garden hose. On the desk, a coffee mug with Elena faded on the side. A pair of headphones with Mark scratched into the plastic band. Things left behind by people who stopped needing them. At the back of the room, an industrial metal door. Padlocked. Transmitter room. Authorized personnel only. At 10:55, I heard the ocean swallow the causeway. The sound was enormous and final, like a tomb being sealed. At 11 p.m., I went live. Good evening, night owls. You're listening to WILFM 103.3. I'm Sarah Chen, and I'll be keeping you company until dawn. I played the first song. took off my headphones to dig through my bag for coffee. That's when I heard it. A voice. Not through the speakers. From above me. From behind the locked metal door. A man, warm and unhurried. Good evening, night owls. You're listening to WIAL-FM 103.3. I'm Vince Hollow, and I'll be keeping you company until dawn. My exact words. My exact pacing. My exact inflection. In a voice made of velvet and old electricity. Coming from a room that was padlocked shut. The voice I stood at the base of the staircase leading up to the transmitter room. The air was colder here. It smelled like brine and copper. Old, exhausted electricity. The voice continued overhead. Phone lines are open tonight. You've got stories, I've got time. Let's talk. Then music. Not my playlist. Johnny Cash, hurt, but the recording quality was wrong. Too clean. Like it had been remastered yesterday. I climbed 3 steps. Pressed my ear to the metal door. The music was clear. The voice was clear. And underneath both, breathing. Slow. Patient. The breathing of something that had been. Waiting for a very, very long time. I knocked. Hello. Is someone up there? The music stopped. Silence. I counted 17 seconds. Then the voice came back, softer now, almost intimate. Sarah? That you? My blood stopped moving. Who is this? How do you know my name? I've always been here. How could I not know your name? You're the one on the microphone. I ran downstairs. Called 911. The dispatcher said she'd send someone at first light. The causeway was flooded, and the Coast Guard doesn't respond to strange noises. I called Voss. Voicemail. I spent the rest of the night locked in the studio with my back against the wall, staring at the ceiling, listening to a dead man broadcast a show to no one. I should have quit. But as the sun rose, I realized something that scared me more than the voice. The sounds of the real world, the gulls, the wind, the engine, all sounded thin. Shallow. Hollow. I found myself craving the depth of that voice upstairs. At 2:47 a.m., the rotary phone had rung. The call, the number wasn't published. Voss said no one would call. But the phone had screamed. That old mechanical shriek that vibrates your teeth. I picked it up. WAL-FM, static. Then a woman's voice. Elderly. Shaking. Is the new girl there? Please tell me you haven't gone upstairs. Who is this? My daughter worked there. 2 months ago. Overnight. Just like you. Her voice cracked. Elena went upstairs on her 3rd night. The mug on my desk. Elena. Faded letters. Left behind. What happened to her? She calls me sometimes. At 2:47 in the morning. She tells me the show never ends. that she finally found a way to never be ignored again. She tells me she's happy. The way she said happy, like it was the most obscene word in the English language. She says she's part of it now, part of the signal. I drove out there. The room is padlocked. I pressed my ear against it. A wet, hitching breath. I could hear her reading the weather. The line went dead. Above me, 3 heavy knocks vibrated the light fixtures. Sarah. The voice was gentle, almost kind. Would you like to come up? I'd love to meet you in person. I didn't go up. I sat in the booth until dawn, holding Elena's mug, running my thumb over the faded letters of her name. The lessons, I should have quit. But I went back. Not for the money. Something else. Something I didn't want to admit. By night 4, fear had morphed into a sick, professional obsession. In 7 years of broadcasting, I had never heard anyone as good as Vince Hollow. The pacing, the warmth, the way he made silence feel like an invitation instead of an absence. I started talking to the ceiling during the long instrumental breaks. Vince, how are you doing that? There's no secondary feed. The board says I'm the only one live. The music upstairs cut out. The silence was heavy, vibrating in my sinuses. Then his voice came through the studio monitors, so intimate it felt like he was standing an inch behind my ear. I'm what happens when a voice refuses to stop, Sarah. Every DJ who sat in that chair before you left a frequency behind. A piece of themselves trapped in the copper wiring. I just gathered the pieces. That's not possible. I want to show you something. Listen. He played a recording. A woman reading a marine weather forecast. The voice was mine. Identical in every tremor, every lisp, the way I clipped the end of temperature. But she was reading a forecast dated October 1974. 15 years before I was born. That's digital manipulation, I whispered. I don't collect voices, Sarah. I anticipate them. I've been practicing being you since before your parents met. Every person who was ever going to sit in that chair, I've been rehearsing them for decades. I should have been horrified. Instead, I asked, what else can you teach me? That was my mistake. Or maybe it was my purpose. Over the next week, Vink.